All right, all right. All right, everybody. Hello, how's it going? Hello out there. I am Aaron from Solace, back with you for yet another office hours. This time I am coming at you live from Vancouver, Canada, where it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Um, I'm very pleased to be joined by a special guest today. I'm going to bring him in, TK, joining all the way from Ohio. Say hello.
Hello, world. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing, TK? Thanks for being
All
here.
right. Absolutely, my pleasure. It's always been a dream of mine to be on the Office Hours show with you. So
A dream,
feel
yes.
really
It's yeah to get the exclusive invite, right? To be able to come
exactly.
and hang out for an hour. Yeah, just why don't you introduce yourself to everybody out there?
Yeah, sure. My name is Thomas Kunnumpurath. People call me TK for short, for obvious reasons. My last name is so easy for people to pronounce. Anyway, been with Solace for around 4 years. I run the pre-sales engineering team for the Americas. So my team engages with customers across Canada, United States, and Latin America to help spread the gospel of Solace and event-driven architecture. Prior to Solace, I was actually a customer of Solace at an investment bank where I deployed and implemented technology for a really cool fixed income distributed trading system. So I loved technology so much, I decided to jump ship when I was given the opportunity, and I haven't looked back since.
Very cool. We have quite a few Solacians who are in that boat. Customers who are so pleased, they're like, I want to go work for those guys. And yeah, no, it's great to have you, TK. And yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm Aaron Lee, a developer advocate here at Solace. Been with Solace about 11 years. Usually based in Singapore, but yeah, kind of doing summer in Canada, visiting friends and family. I got a wedding next weekend in Toronto, so I'm heading over to the East Coast for that, and then I'll be in Ottawa for a little while. So yeah, Canada summer in Canada. It's pretty hot here. I'm pretty. It's pretty hot across North America in general, actually. So, but hey, being from Singapore, I am used to it. Um, so the format today, as usual, we're going to spend an hour on the Solace community. We're going to be answering your questions live. So if you have a question, throw it in there. I'm always interested to see where people are joining from. You know, doing this from a North American time zone, I'm guessing we're going to get a few more North Americans than usual versus my APAC office hours. Perhaps some people from Europe. So yeah, put it up in the chat. Say hello. Where are you joining us from? As I said, yeah, Vancouver. TK is in Columbus, and I'm sure we'll have a couple of people from around the world. If you haven't already signed up for Solace Community, please go over there and do so. This is your one-stop shop for all things Q&A about Solace. A lot of us Solace people, Solacians, hang out there answering questions. We do early access programs to APIs. You know, we kind of provide have links to like some of the training certifications and videos that we make there. So it's a great place to kind of keep abreast on all things Solace, and yeah, ask us some questions. So yeah, we got a few comments here already. Let's see. Hello. Um, good to know the session's in English. All right, yes, we're in English. I could speak a little bit of French, but I think English is definitely preferable. Hello, Fahad, how you doing? Um, hey, LinkedIn user. Hi, anonymous LinkedIn user, whoever you are. Good to have you. From Pakistan. Oh, very cool. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Who else do we have? Hey, Mark. How's it going? From Orlando. Good to have you here. Hello, both from Dubai, UAE. Excellent. Very nice. I like Dubai. Lots of tall buildings there. Lots of tall buildings. Um, let's see. Quick question here. Uh, oh, okay, Fahad. All right, Turkish. Well, I don't speak any Turkish, so yeah, this is gonna be in English. So that's great. Um, and yes, it is quite hot over in a lot of parts of the northern hemisphere, right? So okay, great. If you have questions, people that can hear me out there, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll be keeping an eye on this. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and on YouTube and on Twitter. But yeah, if you have a question, just put it down in the chat and we'll try to keep an eye on it. But for now, I'm going to pop over to the Solace community and take a look. Oh, hey there, Ramesh. Hello, USA. USA A-OK. Okay, good stuff. I'm going to share my screen here. Bum bum bum. TK, tell me if you can see this. Oh, I got to add it to the stream. Whoop. There we go. Boom.
There you go. Yeah, it looks
All right.
good.
So Solace community, solace.community. The URL is not hard to remember. And like I said, yeah, it's free to sign up, and it'll keep us you'll keep up to date on all things Solace in here. So let's see if we have any questions while we're waiting for one to come in. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I kind of just noticed this one before. It's around Logstash. So truth be told, Mark's on the call. I don't know Spring that well, but I do know Logstash quite well. And it's loading up here. So this user was looking to kind of wondering how to integrate some Solace with Elk. So I've PubSub model with dynamic routing. Okay, cool. I have to integrate a different tool to grep. I assume grep the logs for event specifics. So, okay, looking through logs coming from your PubSub broker, I guess. And how can we implement it using Spring Cloud Stream like Elk or something like that? So my quick answer, and I know that there's probably better answers out there. I know that Spring Cloud Stream has a bunch of connectors and plugin integrations for various technologies. I don't know if they have a Logstash one, but there are other ways to get data off your Solace broker into Logstash, into Elastic. There is the kind of generic JMS way, where you can basically specify a topic subscription and just pull down through a JMS plugin, a JMS input plugin, data from your broker into Logstash. But if you head over to GitHub Solace Labs, there is a Solace specific Logstash input plugin as well that I wrote. That's why I know about it. And it's basically you can specify whatever topics you want to subscribe to and have that data kind of get pulled down and inserted into Logstash. And because it's kind of Solace specific, it uses our JCSMP API, our native SMF API. It kind of pulls out specific bits out of the header and payload or user data to insert into your Logstash records. So if you want to check that out, I'll just quickly, I'll put the link actually in the, let's see here, GitHub. I'll put it in the chat just so that people can see it. Actually, you know what? I'll put it into this Solace community thread, because that's probably just where the best place to put it. Logstash. And Mark, if you're out there and you know something specific about Spring Cloud Stream, you can also put it up.
Yeah, Mark makes it makes a good point.
Right, of course, yeah. So if looking at the broker logs, so logs from the actual Solace event broker, syslog is probably the best option for forwarding that data off. And Logstash has syslog inputs as well. So that is true. Although they mentioned in the post here that they were talking kind of a PubSub model. So I'm guessing it might be data from the actual broker, not from data on the actual message bus. But yeah, so I don't know. I'll add some comments to this after the stream. TK, do you have anything to say about this, or do you want to jump to another question while we wait for more?
No, all good. I think you covered it.
Okay. So not the best answer, but also the question's quite open-ended, and I don't know exactly what they're trying to say there. All right, Mark, I'm gonna remove your comment here. Let's hide that. All right, TK, do you have a question you want to see here somewhere?
Yes, I do. So
okay.
I have a question around throughput.
Throughput. All right.
Yeah. So I think it's further down.
So let's just
maybe
I'll just do a search for it. Through.
Yeah. So Solace throughput scaling is the title of the thread. I could send you the link right now.
Yeah, put it on the chat there, and I'll take a look. Why is my maybe it's on the next page. Through. Yeah, it must be on the next page. So many questions here. Hey, there's my All right, I'll just click on this. There we go. Excellent. Let's load that up here. Take a look while we're waiting for some questions live from our contestants. All right. What is the rate of consuming messages per second for a consumer with one concurrency in Spring Cloud Stream? Again, it's another Spring Cloud Stream app. Just wondering what would be throughput per hour if there's just one consumer with one concurrency smoothly using physical Solace appliances, using the hardware. Okay. Yeah, TK, do you want to make a comment on this before we check out what Uli said?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the question is with throughput or any sort of performance questions it depends. So there's a number of factors that affect broker throughput. So obviously there is network involved. So it depends on how much network, the latency between the host and the broker. Also depends on the size of the VMs that or the compute that the publishers and subscribers are running on. And so you have to bear all that in mind. However, what Uli mentions further down is that a good way to answer that question is to use SDK Perf. SDK Perf is a utility that you can use to sort of benchmark your Solace broker performance. That'll give you a baseline of the maximum throughput you could achieve. And then from there, once you get an understanding of that, perhaps it's not as good as you hope. You can do some tunings. For example, you could reach out to your network folks, or you could get a beefier VM or server to run the publisher and subscriber on. And then once you're fully satisfied that, okay, you've squeezed every ounce of performance out of the network, out of the compute, then you move on to your application. And that's the approach you take. I also mentioned that we at Solace publicly list our benchmarks on solace.com/performance. And so if you could also look at that page and say, okay, here's what I could expect under ideal conditions to what type of throughput you'd get under ideal conditions. And it depends on things like message size as well. And then again, you'd work your way backwards from there. Okay, this is what is advertised. This is what I could achieve with SDK Perf, and then make some tunings there. Then go to your application and see how much throughput you can get from there. But and Mark could correct me if I'm wrong, but Spring Cloud Stream is based on, I believe, the JCSMP API. So the throughput that you see over here, which is also based on our JCSMP or SMF, I should say, should be almost the same throughput that you'd get with Spring Cloud Stream.
I'll make one comment about this performance spreadsheet is that this is broker performance, right? This is how fast the actual broker, in the best of circumstances on the biggest VM, the fastest disks can go. You're not going to get these numbers just from testing a single publisher, single subscriber, right? This is multiple perf hosts that are sending data in here. So yeah, exactly. It really depends. It depends on a lot of things. SDK Perf is a great benchmarking tool. Oftentimes we'll have customers, prospects, people coming and saying, my app runs slow, Solace must be slow. We say, okay, well, let's make sure that the Solace piece of it is, fast or slow, and you can use SDK Perf to kind of remove the application level processing or overhead to give you kind of a baseline. So if your app is going at 100 messages a second, but SDK Perf goes at 100,000 messages a second, then there's probably some tuning in your app that you can do. But if both go at approximately the same speed, then that might be the limit of your current setup. All that said, if we're using guaranteed messaging here and we're using physical Solace appliances, I have run a single JCSMP consumer, depending on message size, into the 100,000 messages a second. I think it would be possible. Again, SDK Perf would kind of give you that baseline. And in terms of I don't know how much overhead the Spring Cloud Stream binder adds. I don't think it would be all that much. So, but yeah, test.
If the question is measuring throughput in hour, I'm fairly certain that we could hit one of the targets that we're looking at here. The benchmark, the way we benchmark at Solace is typically per second. And even on our site and what SDK perf will output will be typically per second rates.
That's right. And like 10,000 a second is not hard to do.
Yep.
If persistent, as long as you have reasonable disks and reasonably performant. But yeah, if you're on physical hardware appliances, you're in the multiples of tens thousands per second on a single publisher subscriber thread, no problem. Um, and we have samples that you can download as well. But yeah, Spring Cloud Stream specifically, I don't know. I've never done actually perf testing with that. So yeah, very good. Oh, one more saying hello. Hey Phil, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Questions? Come on. There's people out there, I'm sure, that have some other questions about Solace. This is your chance to get some live feedback directly from the source. There was a question that I actually was already answered that I really would like to bring up because it's something that gets asked about a lot when I do developer workshops, and a lot of the kind of in-person things that are now starting up again. It's slowly loading. I don't know why is my network okay? Is my audio and video okay there, TK?
Yeah, sounds
Okay,
coming
good.
through fine for me.
Okay. Where was it? It was a question about queues that I thought was really great. Come on, Aaron. Queue. I'm not finding it. I just looked at it a second ago. Oh yeah, here we go. What's the difference between all the queues? So this is a great question. Very kind of, I wouldn't want to say basic question, but a very kind of fundamental question in the Solace world is we have a lot of different types of queues and kind of what are they used for and why do we have these different ones? Scroll up to the top here. Most people that use Solace, I would say outside of kind of IoT connected cars, connected vehicles applications, and maybe very low latency kind of trading platform situations, will be using persistent messaging, right? Our other quality of service is called direct messaging, which is kind of a non-persistent fire and forget type of eventing. But yeah, typically people are using persistent messaging. So in order to do that, you are publishing your messages with that delivery mode of persistent, and you will have inside the broker a queue configured to receive those messages that your consumer will then bind to receive data out of. And so some people get confused in terms of you have exclusive queues, non-exclusive queues, durable queues, uh, temporary queues, dynamic. Some people say dynamic queues. That's got a term from EMS. Lots of different choices, and sometimes you can create them with the admin tool, the PubSub Plus Manager, but you can also create queues using the APIs directly. So this Tamimi answered this question already. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. It's a really great summary here. Specifically, durability. You can have a queue essentially live forever until it's actually administratively deleted, or you can have what's called the temporary queue, non-durable queue, that basically is tied to the lifetime of a client connection. So a client and application connects, a consumer application. It says, I want to create a queue, but basically if I disconnect and leave the broker for 60 seconds, the queue will automatically get cleared away. And the other big kind of feature is the exclusive versus non-exclusive, which essentially tells how to handle multiple consumers. So with an exclusive queue, even if you have 5 consumers bind to that queue, only one gets access to the data on it until they have disconnected and gone away. So an exclusive access to the data in that queue versus non-exclusive, which is a round robin style of delivery. So more for load balancing or more for being able to kind of read through the data with multiple consumers. And there's different pros and cons to each. There's lots of documentation on the Solace website, and again, like in Tamimi's answer here. But even though I'm talking about reading data from queues, I do want to make the point that as Solace is natively a topic routing broker, we always suggest to be publishing on topics. So your publishers should always be publishing on topics, well-defined, hierarchical, descriptive topics. and then your queues can actually subscribe to those topics. So it's a bit of a topic to queue mapping or bridging. Some people use that terminology, but definitely a best practice in the Solace world. Publish on topics and have your queues subscribing to those topics that your consumer can then connect to the queue to get information out of.
Hey,
So that
Aaron,
was,
pop,
yeah,
pop quiz for you. Is it
yeah.
possible to have a temporary non-exclusive queue?
I don't think so. I
Correct.
don't think so. That's because typically a temporary queue that that an application, a consuming messaging application will create will generally have kind of a weird anonymous name. It'll be like this weird long hash. And I think that's kind of specifically so that other people don't accidentally connect to that queue and join it. So I'd have to check the docs to make I keeping up with all the new features is sometimes a little bit
No,
difficult. But
you're
my
right. I
yeah.
know the answer was sort of a
Oh,
leading
okay,
question.
okay. Oh,
So
thanks.
you're right. We cannot have a temporary non-exclusive queue. Now, what we found is that you could get pretty close if you have a queue template
Yeah.
and you override the durability. It will be provisioned as non-exclusive, but more than one consumer can't connect to it. So this actually came up from a customer request. They say, "Hey, is it possible?" And we got really close, but then we got confirmation from support that, hey, non-exclusive temporary queue is not possible with Solace. No. So so yeah, if you need temporary queues, the only thing that you can use them for is exclusivity, which means that queue get provisioned, you can only have one consumer connecting to it
Yeah.
to receive data.
Yeah.
And when that consumer dies, then you get a 60-second interval before that queue gets automatically purged. So typical use case for non-exclusive queues is that if you have jobs that come up periodically, you would just spin up a non-exclusive queue. And
A
then,
non-durable queue. A non-durable queue, you mean?
yes, sorry, temporary queue, non-durable queue.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when that job is finished, the consumer shuts down, and then the associated endpoint, in this case, non-exclusive queue, will automatically be cleaned up for you.
So yeah, it's essentially persistence while I need it, right? Often queues are provisioned by an admin. They just exist forever. They're always online. But yeah, sometimes yeah, if you have a temporary job, you just need persistence while you're kind of need it. Then non-durable temporary queues are very useful. I've seen a flurry of questions come in here, so I'm going to start taking a look at some of these. Let's see what we can see here. Imdad, hello. Reading lots of content in the community. We're using Solace SaaS. All right, so the Solace platform, cool, and are processing with developing a framework using Spring Cloud, Spring WebFlex, and Cloud Stream. Okay, cool. Use cases to minimize developer coding approaches use persistent messaging guaranteed delivery using queue subscription. Okay, yeah. Again, I guess I'll just reiterate. Your publishers should be publishing on topics, and because topics are not configured in the broker, you do basically the publishing app when they say send specifies that topic right there as kind of a free text string. You have a lot of flexibility in your topics that you can publish on, but a well-defined topic hierarchy. We have lots of content on our blogs and our docs on kind of best practices for topic hierarchy design. And then, yeah, your queues should be subscribing using wildcards or whatever you want to those topics so that, for the persistence side of things. But yeah, publishing on queues is kind of old school legacy. I'm trying to find a way to dynamically bind the queue through functions and perhaps use abstraction. Dynamically bind the queue through functions. Interesting. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Unless TK, you have a thought, I would have to go away and think about this for a bit.
Bind the queue through functions. Imdad, when you say bind the queue, what do you mean? You mean add topic subscriptions or to bind a consumer to the queue?
Yeah, and like with these functions, kind of on the vein that we were just talking about, non-durable queues, are these functions kind of temporary, short-lived? I mean, would they kind of come up and need the data to be persistent and then go away again? In which case, yeah, you could provision the queues dynamically using the API. The Spring Cloud Stream Binder actually does provision queues if they don't exist. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. I would have to do some thinking. All right, yeah, we'll use the community next time. That is the greatest answer, or the greatest follow up to that would
Well,
be, I would say,
you actually missed one question,
yeah, I
but
know, but I'm just saying,
I
posting
see.
on the it's always a great way in case we can't answer on the live stream, because we don't know everything about Solace.
Right.
Is post on the community, and it'll have a lot more eyeballs on it that can maybe kind of follow up with that. Second question: if I want to do manual acknowledgement, does it allow in a reactive way? Again, probably so using the Spring Cloud Stream Binder. Um, Mark, I don't if you're out there, I don't know. I definitely know that there is ways. I mean, so the Solace APIs natively have definitely ways of doing manual acknowledgement. It's on a message by message basis. So, and it's not windowed. So you can acknowledge messages kind of out of order from any thread. So that if you've implemented kind of a multi-threaded consumer, and you are kind of sharding or load balancing the inbound messages across multiple threads for processing, each thread can kind of act messages when they are finished with them, in whatever order. Um, but yeah, specifically within the Spring Cloud Stream Binder, doing it reactively, I would say probably. But yeah, posting on Solus community would probably give you a much more definitive answer on that. So, dang, I wish I was better at answering questions. I'm not doing too good on this office hours. What the heck?
I
Um,
do, yeah, I do think that you can manually act in Spring Cloud Stream.
I think so
Uh,
too.
yep.
In a
So
React.
that should be fine.
Um, Thanks for the questions, Imdad. Post them on the community, and we'll follow up in more detail. Um, Hey, thanks, Nick. Hello for Atlanta. Nice. And I'm glad my audio is okay. Um, is there a dead letter queue feature in Solus? Yes. Yes, most definitely. Solus has had dead letter queues, or dead message queues, we call them, for years and years. About 5 years ago, we added the ability um, to basically have a per queue dead message queue. It used to be within one single kind of environment. There would be one dead letter queue for the whole thing. So, like if a message expired via TTL or redelivery attempts, if it's been redelivered like a poison pill, kind of stuck at the head of your queue, it would get moved to kind of a single dead letter queue. Now each queue optionally can specify, any other queue as their dead message queue. So yes, most definitely. And yeah, the ways that messages can expire there are either via time to live, TTL, give it an expiration of 30 seconds or an hour or whatever, or redelivery attempts. By default, all of that's turned off, so messages will never expire. They'll just stay in the queue that they were originally published to, or using topics that were kind of landed in, shall I say. But yeah, check the docs. I'm sure if you just Google or use your favorite search engine to search for Solace dead message queue, I'm sure you'll find oodles of documentation about
Yeah, another thing to add, that you do have to set a flag on the message from the publisher to make it
that.
DMQ eligible, and that always trips me up, especially engaging with customers. Like, why isn't the message getting promoted to DMQ? So you do have to set a flag, so that bear that in mind. But it's it's quite a common pattern to use. So, for example, if you're dealing with a trading system, for example, and you have an order that's stuck from being executed or filled, what you don't want to do is hold up all the other orders in your queue. So
Mm,
you give it a certain amount of time, or a certain amount of redelivery attempts where trading engine will try to execute it. And if it fails, then it'll get promoted DMQ. And then you could have an administrator or a process that looks at that DMQ, attempts to fix a message, and push it back into the queue, for example, or just manually process it. So it's a common pattern, and when you're building out your event-driven applications, it's good to think of that as functionality to potentially use in your architecture.
So I'll make two. You reminded me of two things. Number one, so Solace being a multi-protocol event broker, we support our own native SMF protocol, which kind of has all of the features and bells and whistles that you could possibly imagine. But we also natively support MQTT, which is typically used for a lot of IoT applications, but very nice, lightweight pub sub protocol, and also AMQP 1.0. These two protocols, which are standard, open standards, and there's lots of open APIs out there for using them, don't have the concept of a DMQ eligible flag. With those protocols, Solace automatically sets them. So if you're using AMQP or MQTT protocol to connect to Solace, you don't have to worry about this DMQ eligible. The flags are automatically set. And I am pretty sure that some of our newer APIs, so some of our next gen APIs, such as Python and Go, I think it's actually automatically set. It's now the default, because typically, as TK just said, a lot of people want this behavior and they forget to turn this flag on. And it used to be off by default, and I'm pretty sure we've made it the default to be enabled on our newer APIs. But yeah, that is one thing to check. So if you're using one of the older APIs like JCSMP, you do have to set that on each message that you publish that you want to be allowed to expire to a DMQ. And the second thing I'll just mention is we just released a new feature. I'm trying to find there's a video blog about it, where you can move messages from any queue, copy messages from any queue to another queue. So a very common use case is, let's say that you've got this poison pill message stuck at the head of your queue. It expires to your DMQ. Maybe you go and you tweak your consumer. Maybe you restart your app. You fix the code that was breaking, and you want to actually put that message out of the DMQ back into the original queue. You now have kind of broker commands to be able to do that. Something that a lot of the Boomi folk were very interested to do, because that's a kind of a common work pattern, is to be able to move messages from a queue to another queue. So that is in I think the newest or the second newest version of the broker, which is pretty cool.
And don't forget my other favorite feature, delay delivery on queues. So that's pretty cool. So what it allows you to do is essentially delay the delivery of a message to the consumer, and you're able to configure this directly on the queue itself.
Lots of persistent messaging features, and if you check our YouTube channel, I know that Tamimi, one of the other developer advocates here at Solace, just did a live stream with Ray last week, and it was all around new features that were released recently in the Solace broker, and that it included this kind of copy feature and a few other very cool features as well, some replay stuff as well. So anyway, that was a long answer to your question there, Nick. I hope that gives you some context. But yes, there's definitely lots of dead message queue features in Solace. Hey, we got a few more people here. Hello. Hi. Thanks for joining. Oh, Nick, you're welcome. All right, cool. Any changes in the Boomi API? I don't know. Let's see if I'll just Google it. I mean, I could just Google it. I'm sure you could Google it too. I haven't heard anything specifically if there's any changes to the new API.
But I know for a fact we've made a few bug fixes, but nothing major to write home about with regards to changes. So there certainly aren't any breaking changes. There's just going to be additional functionality that we've added. For example, there's one that comes to mind where the secret length was expanded out for a specific customer. But and then we also I shouldn't say recently, but we did implement request reply on the connector too. So you could do request reply, and then I think we also added last value queue support too.
Okay, so that's quite a few things then, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. there must be some way to sign up for like kind of or like get the release notes or something to find out like when the actual last updates were done and what was added to it. But yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. We do talk about it on the Solace community every once in a while. If there is a major release with some new features, there will be a post about it on the Solace community. So that's maybe another good place to check out. Okay, Hassan, hello, hey, how's it going? Okay, we got another question here from Indad. What is the best practice to handle failures at a consumer function and all retries are exhausted? Do we use automatic error queue or some requeue mechanism to the original queue? What happens in Solace? Okay, and I'm going to assume this is in the same vein still as talking about Spring Cloud Stream. So you can handle this multiple ways, either using some of the built-in features of the broker, or obviously at the application layer, which means you, the kind of business application owner. So we just finished talking about dead letter queues, dead message queues, and that will allow messages to get moved out of a queue in case of redelivery attempts. So if you have a message at the front of the queue that your consumer receives, tries to, I don't know, deserialize, throws an unchecked exception, and causes your app to kind of crash out or disconnect from the broker, that message will get put back onto the queue and made available for redelivery to the next available consumer. If you only have one consumer, or even if you have multiple consumers, they're probably all the same instance of the app or the same code base. It might most likely will fail again, if it's trying to parse the payload. And so at some point you'll say, all right, after 10 redeliveries, I'm going to time out and send that message to the DM queue. You can do that in the broker. You can have it handle that. But I know that in Spring Cloud Stream Binder, there are application level or layer ways to kind of handle processing errors, right? So you could, as an app, republish that message somewhere else. Maybe I want to republish that message to a special error handling queue. Say, something went wrong with this message. I'm just going to republish it. The thing is, it's actually a different message now, right? Like it's a copy of the original message. You would still kind of acknowledge the message off the original queue and publish a copy of it to your error handling queue. Or you could publish it to a DM queue. You could publish it to the back of the queue that you just came from, kind of in order to stick it at the back of the thing. But in all those instances, those are just copies of the original message. You like take the payload and take whatever headers and publish a new message into the broker. As a Solace person, I would lean towards letting the broker handle kind of redeliveries and DMQ type behavior, just because as an administrator, I can kind of see that that's happening inside the broker. I can see that there is redeliveries. If that message gets moved from the main queue to the DM queue, I can have tooling that can move it back now. Replay as well. It's if you publish a new message as an application to a different queue, you're kind of making a duplicate copy of that message. I don't know. I think you should let the broker try to handle redeliveries and error handling if as much as possible. That would be kind of my high level answer to that. I don't know, TK, if you have a thought on that.
Yeah. So obviously, as with many things, it depends, right? So if your goal is to have the message just be transferred as is, definitely recommend having the broker manage it. But if you do need, so typically, for example, the poison pill message, if it fails processing, there might be some error or typo in the payload. So anything that requires modification of the message, then you would have to rely on an external microservice to do that modification and submit it back to the queue for processing again. Now, the good thing with Solace is that you could use that DM queue as sort of a catch-all, or dead message queue, dead letter queue, whatever you want to call it, sort of a catch-all for any failures. And then you would have to have some process and manual process perhaps that looks at the message. And we do have customers who do have created queue browsing type functionality on a DM queue, looks at the message, is able to edit a specific message and then resubmit it back to the original topic and hence to the original queue for correct processing. So that's a typical pattern that we see.
Hmm. And now that the broker has replay as well, if you get into a situation where your app is completely crashed out and you kind of just want to kill it and kind of fix your app, redeploy it, and then say, all right, everything from this message ID onwards, or everything from 9 a.m. 9:01:52 onwards, replay to that queue. We also have that capability built into the broker. So in terms of a lot of error handling, um, redelivery attempts, and dead message handling, copying from one queue to another, there's a lot of features in the broker that kind of give you a lot of power and flexibility there, kind of reusing that original message as it was is. But yeah, TK makes a really good point. If you want to add or decorate some additional user metadata into that message to say, all right, this was the original and it had these exceptions thrown out, and republish that somewhere else, then yeah, that would need to be a new message that is created by your app or some other external service there. Sometimes that's implemented as the dead letter queue or dead message queue consumer, right? The dead message queue consumer is usually just kind of some kind of logging thing, and it can kind of decorate that message with some extra information. Yeah, there's a lot of options. So specifically, what you're looking for, hopefully that covers some of the options that you have there. Hey TK, I just remembered. I'm looking at the time here. I know that you have a demo that you were hoping to show. Do you want to fire that up while we have no a pause on questions here? So should
Yeah,
we?
let's do that. So
All
just
right,
give me
all
a
right.
few seconds to
I will give you a few seconds here.
pull up.
So folks, TK here, even though he's a manager, still likes to get his hands dirty and do a little coding on the side. So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at a pretty cool little uh, computer vision AIML demo. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, you hit all the buzzwords, right? So let me just pull up the blog as well so I could talk to it once I finish doing the demo.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I try to my past life I was a developer. I still, as many on my team can attest to, I still pretend to be one, or try my best to pretend to be one.
Good for you. Yes.
But
Excellent.
yeah, it keeps I like coding. It keeps my brain active, and it's good for me. Good decompressing mechanism. Just love coding and thinking about a problem and trying to solve it. All right, so I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
So,
I'm gonna share your screen here.
okay, perfect.
Okay. Yep. I can
Right.
see picture in picture. Excellent.
All right. So yeah, so this is the app that I wrote. So essentially, whoops, let me remove these.
Got some reminders there.
Yeah. So yeah, this is what it does. So just context to this. So um, back in the day when you went on a trading floor, like the New York Stock Exchange or any sort of exchange, you would have traders on the trading floor, and then you'd sort of have a pit master that was responsible for executing the order. So the way it'd work is that if you wanted to buy, you'd say like buy, which you hold up your hands like this, and the pit master would say, okay, you're going to buy 100 shares of Apple, and then you'd say like this. And then if you want to sell, you go like this. Now, what I did is I used that sort of manual way of trading and came up with a somewhat fancy app, and took some liberties with regards to hand gestures, because these are the limited set of hand gestures that could be recognized, or that I could get recognized. So essentially what this app does is it runs through a simulated session, and then makes you buy or allows you to buy or sell stocks. And so the way it works is that you hold your hand like this. It should detect the buy. This does take some time to get reconfigured. Yeah, so there's a bit of a lag. It's CPU, somewhat CPU intensive, so there might be some lag involved in detecting these signals.
And we're already streaming, so yeah, it's probably chewing up your CPU quite a bit.
Yeah. So anyway, so this would be buy, this would be sell, and this would be hold, right? So if you go to this app, you could put it in chat afterwards. You could play around with it, and then you just put your see it's very laggy. So my CPU, I could hear my fans going on, so it's going to be extremely laggy. So anyway, I'm going to put my initials in, and again, anybody could do this. And okay, here's the stock price, and this is simulated. right? And so what I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to buy, which is going to take some time to detect.
Uh, yeah, buy low. Buy low for
Buy,
sure.
but yeah, going to
Oh,
hold.
there it goes. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. Hold, sell.
live demos.
Yeah, I love demos too.
Gotta love it. So it's literally supposed to be just like,
Right.
oh,
There you
yeah.
selling, selling my stocks. Right.
So this is very real time. This is
Yep, that's right. So let's see if it'll buy. Yeah, it's just very, very laggy. So so yeah, it's using the gestures to recognize hand signals. Oh, I know what it is. It's the black in the background that's causing me to get confused. So anyway, yeah,
your
so here
background.
there's a leaderboard afterwards. And then you could let's actually try that again to make this a bit
Could you,
more fun.
TK, can you post that link into the chat, into the
All
comments there, just
right.
so if anybody else wants to see it, that'd be fun to do.
Yep.
Not the private. Oh, okay, private chat. That's fine. I'll post it.
Yeah, just post it. I don't know how to post it. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so buy. Yeah, it's working much better right now. Hold and sell. Works best in a white background.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's all you have to do, and then it will detect these hand signals. Yeah, so again, best work against a clear background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so it detects these hand signals, and then you just you're able to do a simulated session. So interesting thing about this is that so I wrote a blog about this, and I show you what's involved. But the stack
Yeah. What
at
is
a
the
high
stack?
level involves this. It involves a server that is getting signals and sending the stock prices through the event broker through a UI, and then you as a trader are interacting with your front end to send signals, and that signal is then transferred to the broker. So at the end of the day, machine learning use cases, typically you send a bunch of messages or send a bunch of data to run machine learning algorithms on. And then what you'd want to do is that machine learning algorithm will output a result. Now that result is what to do that with that result is usually done with a combination of some other stimulus or some other input. So having an event broker be able to distribute the result of a machine learning algorithm and also take into consideration other input streams. So in this case, stock prices to determine what action should be taken makes your machine learning very effective. So again, you're sending hand signals and you are receiving stock prices, and you're using a combination of those two streams to determine to do something, in this case, buy or sell stocks. So the user interface was written in a JavaScript framework called Svelte, and then I've integrated that with Solace, and then this just goes a little bit more into the architecture, and then this is what the server is doing. So it's sending market data events. The pub sub broker from the client is getting order requests, order events, so whether to buy or sell stocks. And then it also services leaderboard requests and leaderboard responses. So all this. Another cool thing is that what this also shows is that the Solace broker is able to throttle event streams. So the market data publisher is publishing market data events 4 times a second. So it's typically on a front end. You don't want to overwhelm the end user with high rates of event streams, because there's only so much a human eye could react to, or it's only so fast that a human eye could react to. So typical response time is like 300 milliseconds, right? So if you're doing anything more than that, you're wasting network, wasting CPU, so on and so forth. So the Solace Event Broker in this case has the ability to throttle individual event streams, and those event streams could then be sent to the user, or in this case, the user interface throttled.
Is that using alighting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Is a lighting. So we have a feature in here called lighting that allows you to do that. So yeah, the stuff is in GitHub. Feel free to take a look at it. So yeah, the front end, and then you have the Node.js backend. Another interesting thing that, let me just run through the repo a little bit. So another interesting thing that the repo, what I've done with this repo is that I've implemented the Solace, so I implemented the app in TypeScript, right? And uh, I've also created a convenience wrapper for the Solace library that does essentially topic dispatch, like
Mm.
functionality. So for those not familiar with topic dispatch, what it allows you to do is assign different callbacks to different subscribers. And so I've implemented that logic in here.
So
Um,
by default, within a Solus consumer connection, you subscribe to a bunch of topics. Um, if you're using direct messaging, so I'm assuming this demo is all direct messaging. All of the messages that you receive will be on a single kind of session wide or connection level callback. So yeah, topic dispatch is essentially it looks at the message and then knows, all right, so for this subscription I want to run that callback, and for that subscription I want to run that callback. So much more useful if you're having kind of a mishmash multiplexed view of a data feed, eh?
right, exactly.
Mm.
So yeah, like it created a data structure that holds that sort of topic dispatch, those topic dispatch semantics. And so there's a subscription object, and it holds what the callback is and who the topic, associated topic as well with the map. Anyway, good stuff in here. If anybody's interested in TypeScript and using the Solace JavaScript libraries with it, I've used this for many projects. It's worth taking a look at.
Very cool. Nice. Thanks, TK. Can we gamify it? Can we maybe have like a race or something? I guess if you have multiple
Yeah,
people at the same.
yeah. There's a leaderboard at the end. So let's see. I could actually tell if there's anybody who tried it. Go to this
Yeah,
URL.
I could try it. But you're not going to see other people's scores at the same time, right? Like your little graph
Yeah,
there
you
is not
do.
going to show.
So somebody called NP
Okay.
tried to do it.
All right.
Good. Congrats, MP. You weren't able to beat my score yet, but you did come second place. Good stuff.
I'll have to try it after we finish up here. So
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Very
Just
cool.
again, advice to try the demo, best done against a clear background. And obviously the less stuff you have going on, because what it's actually doing, it's running TensorFlow in your browser. So those not aware, TensorFlow is a open source machine learning library. They extended it by creating a TensorFlow.js library. And my gosh, does that thing eat up your CPU? So yeah, just make sure you have as least things running as possible for it to work effectively.
Wow. I didn't know that existed, but that's cool. Do you need a special video card or anything, or is it just done? It's just done
Well,
in.
yeah, just on a webcam. So it just uses, so it's pre-trained. So the specific library is pre-trained with like a huge set of hand gestures. That's what it uses to detect the hand
Okay,
signals.
that's cool. I'll have to
Yeah,
check it out. Thanks,
yeah, no
TK.
worries. Anytime.
Um, before let me just pop back onto my screen here. Um, yeah, this is. I just wanted to bring up this. Someone posted this last week, um, asking about topic tracing. And I didn't have time to read through all the comments, and it's probably been answered. But I just wanted to kind of mention this specifically. This user here is got a DMR, a mesh setup, which is an event mesh. It's multiple brokers with your publishers and subscribers can kind of connect wherever they want using Spring Cloud streams to actually send the data. They want to actually see their data in the Solace event portal. For those, most people know Solace from the event broker, our runtime message broker, event broker that distributes data between publishing and consuming applications. But we also have this event portal as part of our SaaS, which can be helped to architect, design, document, catalog, and search your applications. From a kind of just a management perspective, very similar to API portals or RESTful APIs. There is a discovery component where you can basically scan existing runtime architectures, Solace, Kafka, other brokers as well, to kind of see what is there. Which consumers are there, which publishers are there. consumer groups in the case of Kafka. But in terms of actual kind of runtime view of the message data, that's something that doesn't yet really exist. And so this person is looking here specifically, they want to see where a message goes, in terms of a topic, where it goes into this queue or that queue and when it's been consumed. So it was recently announced that this is actually a feature that Solace is working on. So people that are very keen, people that are used to kind of other traceability technologies like Zipkin that kind of trace, as a REST call goes through the RESTful architectures, being able to kind of document and visualize messages as they're flowing through the broker from the publisher to the consumer. We're building that into the broker right now. There's actually an early access availability for some key people, but it's something that Solace is going to be releasing not too far from now. And it'll actually basically allow you to export this traceability data using open telemetry. So people that are familiar with tracing applications are probably familiar with open telemetry. So we'll be emitting that as through an open telemetry plugin that you can then plug into whatever kind of visualization database system that you have. So yeah, coming soon. Coming soon, the ability to see where a message goes in and where it comes out. Multiple consumers, through PubSub, you'll say it went out to these queues and it went here and it got consumed here and acknowledged here. Very useful for audit, kind of for compliance, for pointing fingers at different teams who published and who lost the data and who sent what where. So stay tuned on that. I'm sure we'll have a couple posts on Solace community all about the message tracing and open telemetry when it goes GA and gets released.
Yeah, the best description of this feature that our customers come up with is it's going to help reduce the mean time to innocence, because if you're managing a message broker, or if you're responsible for a message broker, the publisher will say, hey, I published a message. The consumer will say, hey, I never got the message, and you're stuck in the middle trying to figure out what went wrong. So with this message tracing feature, what you're allowed to do is essentially have the broker tell you if and when a specific message was received, and if and when the message was enqueued and ultimately delivered and processed by a consumer. So we're going to be first to the market with this type of feature natively from the broker, and we're quite excited about it. We think it's going to open up a whole bunch of use cases and drive further adoption of the Solace PubSub Plus platform.
TK, do you know if there's been? I mean, I don't think I'm announcing it publicly for the first time on my office hours, but I'm sure there's been at least a video or an announcement by Solace that we are building this. Maybe
on the product update. So on the product update, the product team does talk about this and give a demo of it.
That's right. So Nick, yes, if you go onto our YouTube channel and look at past videos, you should see I think it wasn't that long ago. It was a product update from Solace, where we talked about this. There is an open telemetry plugin, and there is we have a Jaeger visualization as part of our demo package that we are assembling. So yes, Jaeger is the #1 open telemetry viewer of this data. So yes, this is exactly what we're making. So been working on it for, I don't know, quite a while now, 8 months maybe. It started last year, and now we're in July, so it's been a little while. So it should be soon. Yes, mean time to innocence. That is the thing about message brokers in general, middleware technologies, is that you also when you have distributed applications, oftentimes these applications are run by different teams, and there's not always agreement on who did what where, and sometimes logging is not always up to par. We run into a lot of situations where you're like, do you have any logging of what you received and what you sent? No. It's like, okay, well, how are we going to prove this? Now at least the broker is going to have this built in, so that will mean time to innocence is pretty good.
Oh, just to be clear, I didn't coin the term, Phil. That was one of our customers, so I can't take credit for it.
Don't take credit for it. That's good. Good man. All right, well, we're at the top of the hour. There's been quite a few questions, quite a lot on Spring Cloud Stream. I am going to have to go and brush up on that. As a Java guy, I've been a Java guy for like 15 plus years. I probably should know a little bit more on Spring Cloud Stream and that stuff. So I'm going to have to do that. A little bit of Boomi questions as well. Thanks for that. TK, do you have any final? Oh, you posted the link here. Hold on, let me just
Yeah,
copy this in.
update.
So this is the product update. Nick, if you're still out there, here, let me post this link here. Hopefully this comes through on the comments. I don't know if, yeah, we're using this kind of streaming platform. I don't know if it goes onto every platform, but hopefully, yeah, that will show up on your feed. But yeah, you'll find it on the solace.com YouTube channel. It's called the product update. So. TK, thank you for finally coming, agreeing to be on my
Finally, yeah, I was only invited one time, man. You need to invite me more often.
That's true. It's my fault, but yeah, thanks for the demo and thanks for being here. It's been great. While I'm in North America, it's nice to have kind of do some of these office hours with the North American folks. So yeah, happy that you could join. So hope you had fun, and yeah, good. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Well, that's it from us. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next month. I'll be in Ottawa for the August one, and we'll see who joins me for that one. So thanks a lot, and take care, and see you on the Solace community. Thanks, TK.